About a year and 2,500 nautical miles ago, we fell in love with the Caribbean coast of Mexico. There were so many reasons to be enchanted by this incredible corner of the world. Tacos, mind-blowing scuba diving, friendly faces, tacos, fascinating history, and stunning natural beauty. And oh, did we mention tacos? And now, after sailing all the way down to Panama, transiting the canal, and hopping up the Pacific coast of Central America, we had just completed a 4-day, 500 nautical mile sail to our first port of call on the opposite side of Mexico. And we were ready for all the adventure that we were sure the Pacific coast would bring. But instead, our 3-day stop turned into 3 weeks as an incoming hurricane would force us to hunker down in a marina whose greatest claim to fame is the neighboring instant coffee factory. But while the weather could stop us from leaving, it couldn't stop us from making the most of our time here and getting into some pretty comical shenanigans along the way.
That's bad! That's like pressing the boat on some rocks.
That's not what you want to hear your tattooist say is, oh, oops.
Feels good to be here after a few days at sea. We were kind of planning to stay for, our wish was like 4 days, but I actually think it's gonna be longer because we just looked at the weather and it doesn't look that great at all. So we just have to see how long it takes and how long we need to stay here and wait.
But before we could even think about leaving, we needed to complete the last phase of the check-in process for Mexico, which would turn out to be quite the mission in and of itself.
Well, we made it to Chiapas, Mexico. We're currently on day 2 of the check-in process. Yesterday was about immigration and port control and port captain and 3 other offices. I don't even know what it was. And today we have to drive to Guatemala border, which is certainly random, to get a TIP, which is a temporary import certificate, so they don't tax us on the full value of the boat of Delos, which is also a ridiculous concept. So we have a guy that's gonna drive me and Bill and Gary to the border, and then we have to fill out some paperwork, pay some money. Just trying to make the best of it, you know? Consider it like a little mini road trip with the boys, got a beer. Here we go. Again. ¿Qué tal, amigo?
I'm sorry, but I bring you.
Oh, you bring
I give for you, yeah. So
I have to warn you, we've been drinking a bunch of beers too.
I know, so let's go.
Let's go, vamos.
The Modelos were flowing, and so were the roads as we meandered along cruisy Mexican highways for about an hour towards the border station where we'd be getting the temporary import permits for the boats, aka the tip.
So that's Guatemala over there. I really didn't think I was gonna drive to Guatemala today. I've been waiting here for a long time on this very uncomfortable bench. No, what's going on? This is the situation. Nothing. Okay, we are 6 hours into this expedition. We've drank in about 24 beers, and we've succeeded.
Somehow, against the odds.
There might have been a small problem with my old tip, which I did not, what do you say, invalidate my tip?
Cancel.
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 The tip is still valid, and we're good to go. We're officially cleared into Mexico. It only took 2 days.
Tacos!
Tacos! Now we drink more beers, and we eat some like carnitas and maybe some tamales. Muchas gracias, Miguel.
Welcome, senor. You're welcome. Hola, hola, everybody. Hello,
Hola,
Cancel your tip before you left Mexico, please.
Just the tip, nothing more, just the tip. Okay.
Queremos comernos unos tamalitos, ¿se podrá, por favor?
Can you tell us what's special about this place?
Well, this place is mostly known as the place that the tamales is very famous in the region because the flavors are really good.
Suddenly our tip ordeal felt like less of an inconvenience and more like destiny, since it brought us to the site of the best tamales I have ever eaten. A tamale is a thing of beauty, no matter where it's from, but southern Mexico in particular is pretty iconic when it comes to the tastiest regions. And since there are literally hundreds of varieties throughout the country, that's a pretty big bonus for Chiapas. The tamales here can take 4 days to make, and one of the star ingredients here is a leafy green veggie called chipolín. But besides delicious, what is a tamale? The ingredients can vary from region to region, but the essence of a tamale can be summed up by the ancient Aztec word it comes from, tamali, which means wrapped, since the filling of corn dough, lard, and other meats, cheese, and veggies, and even fruits are always wrapped in leaves before cooking. And if you ask any abuela, there's one other ingredient that every good tamale should have.
Y cuando se hacen con mucho amor y mucho cariño para la familia, yo pienso que eso es lo que lo hace ser sabroso.
So how many can we buy?
If you want to buy 100, it's
I
up
want
to
to
you.
buy all of them.
Okay, let's go.
Because they're 15 pesos each.
Yes, it's
That's like 75 cents.
75 cents.
Wow.
The egg, the black thing is the mole.
Oh, that is fantastic. I love Mexico so much.
Say queso.
Queso.
Con la lona.
Buenas noches, amigos. Sí. Hasta luego.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Ahoy, Delos tribe. Guess what? After months of torture testing, our new hooded sun shirts are finally ready for release.
We have both men's and women's, and the hooded design protects your head and neck from this brutal sun.
The material is like super soft, stretchy, it's got a really good fit, and best of all, it has a UPF rating of 50, so it really protects you from the sun.
Yeah, so head on over to svdelos.com/hot,
Because they're hot.
and get yours today.
Thank you very much, and back to the show.
What is this weather coming in? It's like so cold. His gnarly system coming in. Squall!
As the weeks crept by on our way up the coast of Central America, we had started to notice some big changes in the weather as hurricane season approached. And now, as we had high hopes to depart from Chiapas and keep making miles north, things were looking a little ominous in the future. All right.
Weather.
Weather briefings by Brian and Predictwind. I think we're going crazy because we're stuck in Chiapas and I want to go somewhere like we're right here, right at the border of Guatemala and Mexico. And we want to get up here towards like Acapulco and Zihuatanejo and then up to Barra de Navidad. And it looks like right now the weather is great to leave because we could have like 15 knots sort of behind us and we could zoom up the coast, but let me play it and you guys tell me if you want to leave or not. So this thing kind of like
Friday
starts to form is tomorrow midday. So it's a Saturday.
And she starts spinning.
And then she forms into like a little spinny thingy.
Wow.
And I just think that's just a bad idea. Look at that beast.
Then it gets real.
And then it just sits there is the thing. It doesn't go anywhere. And so from here to here is like 225 miles.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to sail through that. So that's a big nay. And this model looks even worse than the other model. I mean, that's a solid 35, 40, and then it starts to get forecasted 50 plus, and then it just sits there right in the middle of the Tehuantepec. Oh, God.
I know, that's
So
like
that's
real
also
gnarly.
a big nay. Over the course of the next few days, this tropical depression would strengthen into a Category 2 hurricane with wind speeds topping out at around 110 miles per hour. Hurricane Agatha became the strongest hurricane to make landfall along the Pacific coast of Mexico in the month of May since records began in 1949. Luckily for us, her trajectory was well clear of our location. but it meant that we had to be hunkered down here until the storm and the unfavorable headwinds that would follow for the next 2 weeks had passed before we could even think about going anywhere. But we weren't the only ones going a little stir crazy. Our friends from our buddy boats Calico Skies, One Life, and Elixir were all starting to get the itch too. So we decided to shake things up and rent an Airbnb for a couple of days at a nearby beach. This is our friend Lila, who's crew on Elixir. You might recognize her from a few episodes ago where she joined the ranks of the many tattoo artists that have dished out some amazing ink aboard Delos. My left calf would be the site of her next work of art, and like the rest of the tattoos I've gotten up until this point, the design is inspired by the nearly 13 years I've spent living at sea. My first ever tattoo was this baby right here, a manta ray combined with a wave that I got in Fatohiva in the Marquesas. The manta represented an out-of-this-world encounter we had in the Socorro Islands, and the wave was to commemorate the completion of my first ever ocean crossing from Mexico to the Marquesas. To commemorate a full crossing of the Pacific Ocean and arrival into Australia, I decided to get a tattoo of our Buddha Man logo holding Delos. Then, many moons later, I got this anchor and compass after crossing the Indian Ocean from Asia to Africa and pulling into Cape Town. It was a pretty harrowing experience in the heaviest weather we'd ever seen aboard. And what's even cooler about marking this special milestone is that I got that tattoo done aboard Delos. An anchor and compass are both prime examples of traditional sailor tattoos, which is a whole subsection of tattoo culture on its own. Back before all the technology, navigation, autopilots, and weather forecasting that we enjoy today, life at sea was dangerous. Knowing that on any passage they might be moments away from a watery grave, sailors became a pretty superstitious bunch. The art they got etched on their bodies was more than just exotic souvenirs from far-off places. Some tattoos told the story of where a sailor had traveled, some were good luck charms or protective talismans. Some were memorials to lost companions, and over the years, these traditions began to accumulate into a shared language that still remains strong among sailors today. So here on a pool lounger on an AstroTurf floor in southern Mexico, I would be getting one of the most iconic, traditional tattoos of them all, a swallow. The sight of a swallow at sea after a long passage was always a welcome one, since it was a sign that land was nearby. They are known for always returning home and mating for life, so that tattoo came to represent a safe journey back to land and to symbolize loyalty, but it also became a mark of experience. It was traditionally tattooed on the chest for every 5,000 nautical miles that a sailor had traveled. These journeys were riddled with hardships, starvation, sickness, and death. And so, the more swallows the sailor had on his chest, the more experienced and respected he was. I wouldn't be getting mine on my chest, but I would be racking up quite a collection of swallows. In almost 13 years of sailing around the world, so far I've sailed over 70,000 miles at sea, bringing my swallow tally up to 14.
I'm tattooing on land for the first time in a month. It feels like nice and steady.
Does it feel?
It feels like somebody's poking me with a needle like 100 times a second.
Lila chipped away at swallow after swallow with her steady and experienced hands. She's been working as a tattoo artist for about a decade, so there's a price to pay to have her art grace your skin. She was teaching the captain of her boat, Max, how to make tattoos, so if you want one done by the master, you have to offer your body as a practice canvas for the apprentice. So now it was Max's turn to try his hand at some of the smaller swallows closer to my ankle.
What's happening, Max?
I'm gonna complete 2 of the swallows.
Put the light on it. Where is it?
What happened?
I don't even know which one you're working on now.
I can't tell.
Yeah, this is it. It's
sees the Earth from really far away.
How did you get all the way up there?
Why did you
How did you get here?
That's bad. That's like pressing the boat on some rocks, you know? It's okay, Brian.
Okay, good. That's good to know. That's not what you want to hear your tattooist say is, oh, oops.
Ready for the big reveal?
Tomorrow.
Wow. Look at all the swallows. Really, that's so cool. Right there. See that little dot there?
That's Max.
I love it though.
There'll always be a little piece of Max in me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Feeling a lovely combination of being recharged, but also slightly hungover after our weekend away, we were excited to return back to Delos. Now that a weather window was finally on the horizon, it was time to start making preparations for our 650 nautical mile sail to Zihuatanejo.
You got a couple things on the old to-do list while we're here, huh?
Just your average everyday project. Just gotta randomly pull the refrigerator out of the boat. It has this drain on the back from the, because the moisture condenses in the back of the fridge and then it's supposed to drain into something. And we noticed that it's overflowing out of the fridge, and so I think the drain has become clogged. And so I get to pull the fridge out and see what's the problem is.
Did you find a guck? Ew, look at that guck.
Yeah, and as soon as I ran this pipe cleaner through there, like the water started pouring out as it should. Okay, quick one, on to the next thing.
Mission number 1, fixed. We don't have a leaky fridge anymore, yay! Ooh. Nice stash you got back here.
Okay, so on the passage here, I noticed that our raw water pump is starting to leak, which sucks. I know I have a spare in here somewhere, but I thought I could show you like some of the spares. We have this is a spare toilet motor, spare fuel pump, spare fresh water pump, another spare toilet motor, spare gulper bilge pump for the gray water tank, another spare water pump, spare headlamp, spare bilge switches, got a bunch of, it's just so much stuff in here. It's basically like a mini marine shop specific to Delos. This is only part of the stash. There's like 2 more lockers that I have, full of like filters and O-rings and grease and oil. And this is a spare toilet base in case we happen to break that while pooping at sea. Here it is. Spare water pump.
Yay!
And I've got various seals and O-rings for everything on board so that I can, basically what I do is I put this one on and then I immediately rebuild the old one because I know it's gonna fail like in a couple of years. So I always keep a hot spare standby. Here's what happens. Water comes into the boat right here, goes through this tube, it cools off the transmission, it goes up here into this raw water pump, which is connected to the front of the camshaft by this belt, and then it spins, shoves the water through here, through the heat exchanger, and then ultimately out the exhaust, and then out the side of the boat along with the heat. And you can see the problem here is I noticed it because it's not a very fast leak, but over time, you can see this white stuff. So that's actually salt. And so as the engine runs, the salt water is just dripping on there, and then it kind of like, it turns into salt. So I know it's dripping somewhere, which sucks. And so before it gets too bad, I need to pull that bad boy off, find out where it's leaking, and then replace the seal. I got the pump out. Here it is. You can see where it's been leaking, the drip hole like right there.
So now we got to get this thing apart, get that seal out, and see if that's the culprit or not. Problem is, this pump's not even that old. I think I put it in there like 2 years ago, and it's not a rebuilt one, it was a brand new one. So I'm a little disappointed that it didn't last longer than that. It really should have. The impeller's in good shape. That's good news. All right, I'm pretty sure I found the problem here. Okay, so this is the spinning shaft. This is where the impeller sits in here. And this is the seal. And you notice the seal is facing the way so that that spring, which is generally a mild steel spring, is facing the salt water. Which I have no idea why they put pumps together like this. It means that after about 2 years, that spring just corrodes completely away, and then the seal has no tension on it around the shaft and then just leaks. So I'm about 99% sure that's the issue. So I got to get this apart and see if I've got another seal. Yeah, brand new pump. Just bothers me like you would not believe. Yep, that's definitely it. The spring's gone. Raw water pump seal spare. Ooh, look at that. Brand new spiffy bearing. Woohoo! Spare parts rule. Alright, so far, by far the toughest thing has been getting these bearings off of here. Because I don't have a proper bearing press, but I've got the vise set up, some pliers under there, and then I'm going to gently tap on the top of that and see if I can't get it to press itself out of there. Okay, it's moving. I think I broke it free. There she is. Some 220 grit. You can just see all the machinists cringing out there, but I do a lot of this stuff. This is the tools we have, right? Bingo. Perfect. I like that. They both feel good now. Okay, reassemble. Okay. Seal in, and it's in with the spring facing the dry side. Got it all cleaned off so that if it leaks again, all those salt crystals are gone and I'll know it. Put this pump on and we're good to go. Give it a shot. Okay, I think we're good. Last thing is fuel. And the fuel dock is sort of sketchy. It's like a really high dock, and so we've opted to do it with Bill's dinghy, which is very kind of him. We have cold beers.
We got beers and we got a ton of jerry cans.
Let's go. Cruiser life. That dock is real sketchy when the tide is low, and the other side is full of tires, so I wouldn't want to bring the big boat here. Because there's not a lot of favorable winds this time of year, and the hurricane season was fully upon us as we just saw, we needed to keep moving north, even if it meant motoring more than what we like. So to make sure that all 3 boats were fully topped up, we ended up transporting about 2 tons of diesel across multiple trips in Bill's little inflatable dinghy. But now, with the last item checked off our list, we could almost taste the freedom that would come when we cast off the lines the next morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah, that's for Jordan. I got a doggy.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, doggy.
First, this is the important part of the pre-sailing ritual.
Yes, we each get our spirit animal for the trip.
You know, everything's safe, the boat's ready, we're good to go, but this is the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Sierra, guess what? We're gonna go sailing for 4 to 5 days, maybe even longer. Let's go! Face of disappointment.
Tell us about your day so far.
It's been just fantastic. So this is kind of a strange port. They require you to do an inspection by the Navy when you arrive and before you depart. And the person who's supposed to set up the inspection is Rolf from the Marina office. And there is a possibility that Rolf just got COVID, and so he's getting a COVID test. He's not allowed to come into the office until he gets a result back. And we've been waiting here 2 weeks for a weather window, and so it just sucks. Like, you wait for the weather, and now we're stuck and not able to leave. It's like a frustrating situation.
Might as well drink a beer.
Beer makes everything better. We're just gonna drink these until something happens. Okay, so you got your result and it was negative or what? Oh, that's good news. Okay, we'll see you soon. So he's coming down here, and then he has to make some paperwork, and then we have to do an inspection, and it's only taken 5 hours. I think I deserve 1.2 beers per hour. That's my rate.
Okay, we managed to pretty much be done.
We had the Navy guys they're very nice. They look very intimidating, but they also bring their friend,
Little doggy.
the German Shepherd, that inspects the boat and makes sure that you're not carrying any contraband.
Yeah.
And we passed the test.
It's good.
And now we're off.
That's how 2.5 weeks of your life have just become lost forever.
Yeah. Shit.
We're
out of here finally!
Have a good one.
And just like that, we were on the road again. After being cooped up for so long, we were pretty stoked to be back out on the open ocean where Delos belongs. But little did we know, our mishaps of the morning were just the beginning of what the next few days had in store for us.
What's going on? Like, the chart plotter stopped, the GPS lost signal, none of the gauges worked, we had no wind instruments.
What the hell is that?
It's like something melted.
We're going crazy over here.
Proceed. This is a fun little segment.
I'm actually excited about this.
Ooh, me too.
Okay. Here we go.
Spin. I want you to do 2 spins.
Spin?
Stand up on the couch. Yep, there you go. There you go. Give me 2 spins.
Oh, that's a lot.
Okay, one's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, now pick any one you want.
Okay, I'm just gonna go like this.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that is definitely a good one.
Hey, tell me the story about this one.
Okay, so this is in the most faded section, and the most faded section are the oldest pictures on the wall of fame shame. This is from a pretty interesting time on Delos in Madagascar. We had just arrived in Madagascar, and Yosha had just left the boat, and Brady was on a bit of a spree. And so me and Brady would go out partying in the town in Nosy Be, out to the bars, and just doing whatever 2 brothers do in Madagascar out at night. And that is the morning after photo.
I love that I picked that one. Sorry, Brady.
That's that.
It's out there now.
Yeah, should we do one more? Hey, we're gonna do another one.
I feel a bit adventurous, and I'm gonna go over here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is recent section.
I'm gonna do like a little over here, maybe. Okay. Drum roll.
Okay, let me see. That one's also very faded. Oh.
Where is
Where
that?
is that? I'm thinking that is St. Helena.
I think it's me and Alex and Lisa.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. From one of the amazing hikes that we did.
Exactly. So in St. Helena, we rented a car and we drove to the other side of the island.
Yeah.
And then we went for a long hike.
And it was amazing. It was amazing hiking there. Like, those episodes are really cool, actually. You should go and check those out. It's like, we did so many hikes, and like, it was such a crazy terrain, and just like jungle and beaches, and yeah. It's good.
Okay, I want to pick one.
Okay.
Okay. Should I spin around too?
You can't really see anything.
I can't see shit.
Ow. I think one lap is enough so you don't fall off.
Okay. Oop.
Oh no.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, okay, this one might not be super child friendly, but we did have. Oh, do you want to play the camera towards me?
Yes. Okay, proceed.
Yeah, so this was actually when we had just left South Africa and Dylan was with us as crew, and it was a bit of an interesting time. We had a lot of parties. This is a huge piece of meat that we actually, it was like the last piece of meat that we had from South Africa. And
It's a giant filet mignon.
Yeah,
Like
giant filet mignon, and as boys do, this is what happened.
After probably a night of drinking, I'm gonna guess.
Probably.
Okay.
That was a golden one.
And so if people like this segment, we're gonna call it Wall of Fame, Shame, Random Picture, Promo Pick, whatever.
That's a long name.
If you like it in the comments, let us know and we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And there's some real winners on here.
Yeah.
Some real winners going back years. It's an interesting section.
Boom.
Did you destroy it, Bill?
Idiots.
Idiot. Can you take my chewing gum away? Thank you.
Be a apprentice.
Ew, Sierra, don't do that.
How about ketchup? There's ketchup on your glasses too.
Woohoo!